It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, October 23rd, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content. Thinks the Flyers maybe need to score some goals, Russ.
You think?
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You can find us over on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, given everything, I want to start off on a really good note and say congratulations to Scott Lawton and his family on the birth of their son, Reed. So cute. And I'm glad that he was able to be there and be present for all of that. And didn't get a lot of sleep apparently, but I think that I'm just so grateful that he was able to experience that and not have been on the road.
Yeah, it's great for him and his family. Nice. They put out a nice picture. I was happy for him.
I think that, amongst the NHL frenzy event with every single team playing last night, there wasn't really a lot of time to, for the broadcast at least, to let things sort of sink in. They were always cutting away. They were always kind of looking to what the next game starting was going to be. And feel like we're lucky in some ways that we get to just kind of sit in this game and try and figure it out a little bit more. I think the first question that comes to mind really is about these lineup changes that took place beforehand. So we saw that obviously Nick Seeler was back in the lineup here, but Tyson Forster, Jett Luchanko, and Eric Johnson were out. Nick Delorier and Noah Cates in. And Torts said very directly that Tyson Forster was a healthy scratch because he wasn't playing well. So, what is your take on that? And what do you think's going on with Jett Luchanko at this point?
Okay, so with Forster, I just think it was dumb. I think they should have sat Brink. They should have put in Forster because, like we said previously, he does not hurt you 5-on-5. He's a big guy who has pushback. You knew this Capitals team was going to punch them in the mouth a lot, and they did, and have a lot of pushback. But the issue is, not only can they do that, they're faster too. So there's that combination, and I felt like that was just a bad move. With Jett, I feel like they're just never going to play him back to back. So this is the one they sat.
Yeah, now there was talk via Darren Drager, TSN, that they are going to send him back down to Guelph pretty soon, but we haven't heard anything specific from the team on that front yet. But it does seem like they're kind of playing him every other game here. So we'll see what happens on that front. But yeah, sitting Tyson Forster doesn't seem to be the right strategy with him specifically. I think there are some guys that you can sit for a game as sort of you haven't been playing well, maybe you need a timeout. I just don't feel like that's the right move with him.
No, it's not. They could have cut his minutes a little or see how he did this game, but they needed his physical presence, the body in this game, and they didn't do that. So, and you knew
Right.
Nick Delorier wasn't going to play much.
Right. And I think that's where the issue is for me, right? Nick Delorier plays under 6 minutes, I believe. He had the one fight. I just don't think that it serves any purpose here. I don't think he did anything that helped protect Michkov whatsoever, if that is the reason for him
Zero.
being there or protecting anyone. I just felt like the fights in this game were kind of pointless, to be honest. And I just think the lineup choices were questionable here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, he didn't even get to fight Wilson. He fought McElrath, so it's like that really negated having him in there at that point. So it's like if you couldn't even get Wilson to go with you, why? It's just have to ask why. But there was a lot going on. I think the coaching staff gets an F for this game because they just threw it up against the wall and hoped for the best. And you can't do that. They played Matvei Michkov a lot, too much. And we can get into that in the next segment. Too much.
Yeah, I think that was an issue here. But I think obviously, the elephant in the room here is the second power play unit, right? They gave
Oh,
up
yeah.
shorthanded goals. And I think, regardless of everything else going on, like you can't have your power play giving up goals like that to put you down 2 goals.
No, it really just gives more credence to what we've been saying all along. You had Emil Andre there. You could have tried him. Um, in this game, if Emil Andre wasn't going to match up well against the Caps, okay, maybe that's the case. But Zamula on the power play is worse. So you could always play Emil Andre a little bit less 5-on-5 if you want to, but your power play would definitely improve. And I think Zamula's 5-on-5 play is getting sunk now because he stinks on the power play and it's carrying over. He's still a young player too, so it's a double whammy. But there was other things. Play against the wall on the breakout. There were times I felt like they could have had a 3-on-2 if they actually just uh, played with a little better pace, but they couldn't do it. Uh, they just
Yeah, the speed just
nothing
wasn't
was
there at all.
it was not there. No.
I thought
Travis
they
Konechny had his dumbest game of the year, I felt.
Yeah, I felt like they were just overthinking things. After they went down 2 goals, everything was just one extra pass. They let the Caps get under their skin, and I felt like there was a lot of instances where the Caps got the puck caught in the Flyers' feet, and then they couldn't do anything with it at that point, or it deflected off their feet and created a chance for the Caps.
There was definitely that. Uh, the Caps and John Carlson talked about this post game, and basically when the Flyers made it 2-1 and then they scored right away, Carlson said that's when we actually really turned it on. And yeah, you could see where the Flyers just couldn't carry the momentum for even 30 seconds. Couldn't do it. And they weren't carrying it at all in the game. And if John was okay with the second period, then he needs to really look at the film because they had 3 shots on net. Granted, the Caps didn't score, but if you're calling this a win in the second period because the Caps didn't score, what are we doing here?
Right. I think, in a vacuum, like pretend you don't know that the Flyers only got 3 shots on goal. You look at what the Flyers did defensively against the Caps in the second period. You could maybe say they had a good period, but you can't do that. That's the problem.
No,
Is you
right.
can't put it in a vacuum like that. And
No.
so yeah, I agree with you there. I think that it was a good period for them defensively, but that's not the entirety of hockey. And you can't judge yourself that way in this scenario because you're down, and that's ultimately how you got to move forward. Thought the adjustments weren't working. Moving
Nope.
Paling up was not helping. We knew that wasn't the right solution.
We didn't know Nick
And
Seeler was going to be on the top pairing for his first game back. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, what is that? That was a huge question for me too. Now I like him with Drysdale, but like York Sandheim should have been the top pairing in this game.
Correct. Yeah.
We're
No,
going to
no
talk a little
question
bit
about it.
more about them in the next segment, but I do want to get to what John Tortorella had to say post game a little bit because I think he's right in the sense that he believes the goals will eventually come. They always do. But what are you going to do to push that along a little further is the unanswered question, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not about activating the defenseman because when they were doing that against the Capitals, then it was going back the other way. So you can't do that against every
Well, and
team.
he said that.
I know. So that's good. Um, what it means is you have to have better 5-on-5 play. So that's what you have to hold the standard. If he wants to truly have the standard is 5-on-5 play and 5-on-5 goals, and they count more than power play goals. That's what you have to push that and drum that into the players' heads.
Yeah, he said there's a fine line between checking forward and cheating because you're not scoring. And he's right. But then why do that? And why did that continue through the course of this game? It wasn't like it was just for a brief say, "Oh, we got caught up in ourselves for 5
Right.
or 6 minutes of play and got back on track." They were doing it consistently for at least 2 periods of this game. And that's where you have to figure out how to get a reset for them to be able to fight through it. And he just like there was nothing that happened that indicated a shift in focus.
Right. And this wasn't a game where Sam Urson was going to bail him out. I mean, again,
He was
this
pissed.
is the
He was
difference.
real
Yeah.
mad, I could tell.
Yeah. But there were one or two that he could have, maybe stopped as well. Look, this is where we were saying you miss a Carter Hart because that's, Carter Hart always had a higher save percentage. You look at Sam's save percentage and he can't get over 90%. Couldn't last year, can't this year. So that's something that sort of has to change regardless of what the defense is in front of him. Like sometimes you have to just figure that part out. And I'm not saying he has to play at the same level as Hart, but he's got to get close because there are too many faults with this team that a guy like Hart was covering up. And
Yeah,
they made
yeah.
moves. Look, I mean, they lost some players. I get it. But they thought other players would step up. And, I had no problem saying going after Eric Johnson was the wrong thing in the offseason. And I support that. Eric Johnson's a really good extra piece for a team that you feel is close to, making a good run in the playoffs. Getting somebody else who could actually skate more minutes, play more games in case you have an injury or fill in case a young player does need to sit for a little while, or you have someone like Zamula go bad. Um, they didn't get that. And that's what they should
Yeah.
have focused on.
Well, it's an interesting approach there. We're going to get into more on some of the other players we haven't talked about yet, and then talk about what the Flyers can do against this Caps team in Washington tonight. We're going to do that coming up next. Some of the best concerts of the year take place in the fall, and it's my favorite time to head to a show. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. My favorite part of the Gametime app is that it's great for getting notified about last minute flash deals and super deals so you know you're getting the best bang for your buck. Best of all, they have all in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout when you activate the feature. Also, your tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through email. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season as well. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NHL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. PrizePicks, run your game. On tomorrow's show, we will recap the second half of this back-to-back home and home against the Washington Capitals. Plus, we're going to kick off our 2025 draft coverage. No, it's early, but every year we kind of look at Russ's approach and how you go about ranking and all of that. So we're gonna do our little Draft 101 show for y'all tomorrow. It should be a good one. So I want to talk about some of the players here that we haven't really touched on. I think Michkov, because of all of the kind of discombobulation and the adjustments that were trying to be made, he kind of fell victim to the problem we were talking about in the last couple of shows, is that he needs a consistent line in order to find success. And they continue to not give that to him. I think he did his best, regardless of that. But I think that they put him in a difficult situation here.
Well, they put him in a difficult situation, and then even outside of the power play, I looked at the shift charts. He was having long shifts, like 57 minutes, 59 minutes. The power play was like a minute 20 minute. That's probably a minute
Seconds.
11.
I hope he's not having a
Yeah.
59-minute shift.
Yeah, seconds. But he was having really long shifts, and we've talked about how he gets burnt out on shifts, and people see that. Like, he's absolutely gassed at the end of a shift, and if something comes his way, he can't do much with it. And now you're leaving him out longer. So I just feel like they're not helping him.
Yeah, and I was questioning at some point during this game if they were leaving him out longer or he was staying out longer on his own and he wasn't getting to the bench fast enough, and that's something he needs to work on. And it could be a combination of both, but I do think that that's something to really focus on with his play.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it for sure.
Travis Konechny was doing everything he possibly could to try and get chances. Really bummed out he couldn't get that one breakaway to go that he had, but I think
Yeah, he
that
fell down. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, which is very Travis Konechny, let's be honest. But I think that you know there's a point here where the guys that have to score should score, and he is in that group. And he's different than an Owen Tippett, I think, because Konechny can hit the net. So what is going on here with him, do you think?
He couldn't get open. He got very frustrated. That penalty was just dumb after the second period ran out. Dumb, because now all of a sudden you have, your best scorers in the box to start the third period in a game that you're down. Just dumb. It was a very dumb game for him. And when he was trying to do something by himself, sometimes it was a 1-on-2, or sometimes it was against a pairing that was very good and didn't move out of position and then just stick check the puck away. And he didn't make anybody better tonight.
No, he didn't. I think that third line of that lasted for a decent portion of the game, but not all game, obviously, of Paling with Farabee and Brink. Man, that is just not a good combination. They do not have chemistry at all. And you
No.
could really see that. I think Farabee's game really suffered through like not entirely all the fault of his own, right?
Yeah, his game suffered, and Brink was just getting brutalized. Like, he was just
Yep.
getting blown up. And so that's it. They should not play Brink to next game. You can't play him. It's not a smart move. Farabee, yeah, he needs to be on a different line, and even Frost had a bad game too. I mean, this was a game where the Capitals had no problem hitting the Flyers in the mouth. Um, Listen, Travis Sanheim, when you take a poke at a puck and it's in somebody in Lindgren's glove for like 3 seconds, and there's no question you couldn't see the puck, they're going to hit you in the face. And that's fine. You could be mad about it all game. And he had a nice goal. But, understand that if they do that to your goal, you're doing the same thing. But that's how
Well, it
frustrated they
happens
were.
later in the game.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
saw it
But
on
that's how
both
frustrated they
sides.
got.
Yeah, I think the
And that's
frustration
why I
really
worry.
came out.
I worry about this back to back now because of that. That frustration level can't be there for the next game. The Capitals have too many veterans. They've gotten much better than last year. This is a different team than we saw last year at the end of the season.
Right. And I think that that's kind of the key to turning things around is they cannot let the Caps get under their skin at all. I think
No.
that's going to be something the Caps are going to go for right away, and the Flyers just have to let it go and move on. They have to just play their game and not get baited. I certainly hope Nick Delorier is out of the lineup. so we don't have to deal with a gratuitous fight for no good reason. And then maybe they can adjust the lines a little bit. But I really think that when you're looking at how to approach the next game, we also have to say perfect is the enemy of good here. They can't be looking for that perfect setup. They can't be looking
Right.
for the perfect breakout, but they have to make it actionable. And we had talked pregame of creating shorter, quicker passes to get the breakout going and making it 2 to 4 passes. Well, they weren't doing that. They were trying some like stretch passes to some degree, and then when they were trying the shorter passes, they didn't have enough zip on them, and they were getting picked off.
Yeah, the Caps are a better passing team. They were making those cross-ice passes that the Flyers couldn't make, to illustrate your point. Um, Look, I liked what Noah Cates did. They need him in that lineup. He was one of the only guys that could try and go to the net at least. He still got stripped
Yeah,
like
he
a lot
did.
of the others, but he at least was trying, and on that type of play, and also keeping the puck alive more than most. And like Owen Tippett, like he didn't even try and go to the net. He avoided the net on a play or two. Like actually
Yeah,
just avoided it.
he still had the most, I think, shot attempts on the team, but it wasn't enough. It was like half of what he normally does. So it
Yeah, and they
wasn't.
weren't good.
No, they were not good. I
Even
think
Drysdale, early in the first when he had a good chance, there was this like an extra second he took. Lindgren, was able to get set up at that. You can't do that. It's the NHL. You can't do that.
all good points. I think that it's going to be a tough game 2 in Washington. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, y'all have some really good questions for our mailbag this week, and we will get to them coming up next. Hey, NFL fans, you can enjoy this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, forget having to have dozens of tabs open. You can check out the latest stats, view live play by play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And there's more action besides the NFL. Of course, we have the NHL season underway, and there are so many good options for hockey fans. FanDuel has daily specials like total home team goals for the day, highest scoring game of the day, which would have been a ton of fun to bet on in the frenzy situation,
The
fastest
frenzy.
goals. Yeah. Fastest goal scored and more. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. Our first question comes from Alex Smith. I don't get the Luchanko hate. He's playing well. 5-on-5, he's playing just as well as Michkov. Luchanko is building chances and is playing well defensively, but I don't understand how you say Michkov is playing well, but if Jett does similarly, you want to send him down.
Okay. So a couple things. There's no hate. We're just giving an opinion. I like Jett Luchanko. Like there's no hate.
Yeah, we both
Um,
do.
Michkov is playing better. If Luchanko was playing better, he'd play every game. He's doing the best he can. He's surviving. Just go look at what the Devils did with Seamus Casey. Seamus Casey had 3 or 4 goals on the season already. They sent him down. Why they sent him down? Because it's the right thing to do, because he needs to get a full season under his belt. Now, Jett's a little different because, he'd be going back to Guelph, so they might keep him up a little longer. But at some point, he does need to go down too. And it's not because he can't play. It's because playing a full season at the NHL level and not really scoring is not going to be good for him long term. That's why.
Yeah, I think it's the scoring issue. It absolutely is, and I don't expect Luchenko to score a ton at this age, at this size, with this level of experience. You cannot expect him to score a ton
No.
right now, and you want him to continue to build that confidence scoring at the junior level so that he can come here bigger, stronger, faster, and ready to go, and I just it seems
Right.
obvious to me at this point. Brian wants to know, do you think this poor start will have an effect on Mitchkoff's development? How has he been handling the pressure?
No, he's fine. I mean, he's still playing his game. The only thing that It's kind of ironic. Uh, Danny Briere sold Nick Delorier as being the protector of Michkov, so we thought Delorier would play more. But when Delorier is playing, he's not protecting Michkov. Michkov took at least 2 or 3 big hits tonight. So at the end of the day, that's the part that's the only part that's suffering is he's probably taken a few more hits than you'd like, but he's still making great plays. He still has the vision. He's setting players up, but the shifts should be shorter based on the fact that he gasses pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's, the one thing, and we talked about it earlier in the show, that we would be like a little critical of with his game right now, as he should be learning and growing. And obviously the consistency of line mates. That's
Yes.
the other big issue there. Dean Opper Goalie Clinic says, Russ, be honest, a high percentage of goals do come off the wraparound, but love the show.
Pull me a number. I don't think the
Yeah,
wraparounds
it's
as
not
effective
true.
as you think.
Less than 1% of goals scored are wraparound, according to data. I did some digging into it. So
There you go. Well,
yeah,
thank you though. Thanks for listening though and watching. We
yeah,
appreciate it.
we absolutely do. And if that was said in jest, it's hard to tell in comments
Yeah, we
sometimes.
can't
But
tell.
I do appreciate the comment and the praise. Mitchell wants to know, it really seems like the defense has suffered a lot since they dealt Sean Walker at the deadline last season. Do you still think it was the right move to make? And if they kept him, would they have been able to re-sign him at the 3.6 million he got from Carolina?
Uh, well, I do think it was still the right move because they got the right picks for him, and it'll show up in this draft. It's tough with Peterson because Peterson's like the bad part of that deal, but I still think it's fine.
Right.
I don't think it's really hurting them. Could they have paid the 3.6? Well, today says no because last time I looked, they had 1.3 clear, and that's after they were able to get Johansson off the books, and we don't know if Johansson's staying fully off the books. So probably not. They probably couldn't have signed him.
Yeah, I think so. I think he would have walked away for nothing. Now, Sean Walker on the team for the rest of last season maybe changes things a little bit in terms of them
Sure.
making the playoffs or not, but I don't know that he would have stayed with the Flyers. I don't
Right.
know if there would have been space for him at that
And he's
value.
at the point in his career where he needed to get paid. Like, he's an older guy.
And he wants to go to a team that has a chance to win the cup.
Right.
I think going to Carolina was a good fit for him. Fancy Friends is asking, where has the rush gone? Torts said at the beginning of the season they need to work on net front play, and they definitely do, but why has the offense he created in preparation for Michkov suddenly disappeared?
It's a great question. I don't think anybody knows the answer. The coaching staff doesn't either. I could make the argument the last couple of games they haven't gone to the net enough. And so maybe they need to get back to that. And maybe Torts needs to like tell guys, you don't get to the net, you don't play.
Yeah, I think that is fair. Last question. If you want Zamula off power play 2, who goes in? Is it Cam York or Travis Sanheim or somebody else?
Well, right now it's Cam York, and we know he has trouble hitting the net, but at least as far as distributing and not getting beat with the puck high and having to go the other way, it's Cam York.
Yeah, I wonder if they try Sanheim though. I feel like that is not that I necessarily agree, but I feel like the Sanheim approach is one that they go to in times of desperation, and I feel like that's where they are to some degree.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not against him doing it. He certainly can do it, but how many minutes are you going to pile on him?
Well, that's the big question, right? So if you have the Sealer Drysdale as your number one pairing, and you have York and Sandheim as your second pairing, and then maybe split the power play time, extra power play time between the two of them
Yeah,
to
that might be
balance out the
workable.
minutes. I don't hate
Yeah,
that. I
maybe.
really don't hate that
No,
now that I'm
I
thinking
don't
about it.
either.
But
No,
but
the way you presented it, I don't hate it either.
yeah. So hopefully they'll make some tweaks in the game tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about it as well as our Draft 101 episode. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So let us know the questions you want us to answer next time on our mailbag segment. You can let us know on Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.